When I was a high school teacher, a concern of mine was how to get the students from point A in their understanding of the content to point Z. With this in mind, it occurred to me that it might be useful to consider ways that can make accessing the illuminating energy of pure reason easier. Thinking of this energy of pure reason as very simplistically point Z. Pure reason is initially accessed through the soul. A strong soul connection is essential in building the bridge of light in consciousness, the bridge between lower and higher minds. It is this ability to access higher mind that can facilitate a more consistent experience of pure reason. Until the bridge is well underway, there may only be flashes of this illuminating energy experienced. Since a strong soul connection is needed in order to build the bridge of light, it makes sense to give thought to ways that soul connection can be strengthened. Of course, we know that consistent meditation is one way of doing this, and the Arcane School provides tremendous support in how to engage in occult meditation. The school also presents to students, though, other ways that soul contact can be strengthened. These techniques are very practical because they can be utilized by a person at most any time. One of these techniques is the creation of a vision of the soul. This involves identifying qualities of the soul and then endeavoring to embody these qualities in your life expression. Qualities like empathy, compassion, inclusiveness, and concern for the greater good. It also involves use of the creative imagination and application of the well-known spiritual adage, energy follows thought. This technique is reminiscent of the approach used in the Master in the Heart meditation at the Light on the Path degree level, the very first meditation that a student in the Arcane School does. In that meditation, students are asked to think of qualities that they would attribute to this master. And at some point, there's the realization that this master is the soul, a person's first master. So, employing the technique of creating a vision of the soul is similar to this meditation approach. By thinking of qualities of the soul and trying to embody them in one's life expression, energy follows this line of thinking and helps the person to and helps to facilitate the person's ability to incorporate these qualities into his or her expression. This vision of the soul can be used as a means of evaluating whether one's expression is aligned with the soul's nature. It becomes rather like a standard of measurement. If you don't like what you expressed, you change your behavior so that it's more in keeping with your vision of soul expression. This technique can be helpful too if there's some uncertainty about what to express in a situation. A person might then ask him or herself a question. What can I express in this situation that will be a demonstration of the soul's nature? It's quite possible then that an insight will be registered about appropriate action for that circumstance. A second technique for strengthening soul contact, and one that probably many of you are well aware of, is the Azif Technique. When applying this technique, the person strives to act as if he or she were fully soul infused, fully identified with the soul. This approach also involves use of the creative imagination. I've found that this technique can be fairly easy to use if circumstances are going smoothly, but it can be a little more challenging to use if a person is in a circumstance that seems difficult to handle for various reasons. For example, maybe the emotional body is stirred up in some way, or maybe one's thinking just feels kind of muddled. And maybe the person in this situation doesn't feel at all like the soul. I know that I've had many experiences where I didn't feel at all like the soul. It's in just such a situation, though, when I think use of the Azif technique can be most effective. It seems to me that in the effort made to act as if one were the soul, even though one feels burdened by different personality issues, the soul's attention can be evoked. The soul takes note of the effort being made, and in acknowledging this, it sends forth its light, love, and strength. The individual might find then that it's possible to summons the spiritual will needed to take right action in that circumstance. The third technique is the practice of detachment. Use of this technique facilitates the observer perspective, and it could be said that the soul is the quintessential observer. So by striving to use this perspective, the person is aligning his or her behavior with a soul characteristic. Practicing detachment doesn't mean that a person is unloving and doesn't mean and doesn't like expressing emotions. It does mean that a person is willing to take the time to dispassionately view what's happening and to keep the emotional vehicle calm. Care needs to be taken, though, when using the observer perspective, as Lawrence, I think it was Lawrence, seemed to be cautioning yesterday in some of his comments. It was Friday, actually, that you don't get wrapped up in lower mind discriminations, since this might result in a sense of separation creeping in. It seems to me that practicing detachment is especially important during these times when humanity is confronting so many crises, like the COVID pandemic and the polarization of political views. There appears to be a lot that a person could complain about if the personality were allowed to do this. For example, there may be people who are listening right now who have a family member whose political views are very different from their own and who have found it challenging to interact with this family member. And maybe in relation to this circumstance, there's been a recognition of the need to practice detachment. I know that my wife and I have dealt with this situation with respect to our relatives and some of our relatives, and we've been quite aware of the need to practice detachment. Use of detachment facilitates an ability to achieve mastery of the emotional vehicle so that emotional reaction becomes less and less likely. This then enables that stable mental plane orientation, which makes it easier to achieve soul contact and to strengthen this contact, and in turn enables a more rapid building of the bridge of light and consciousness. Through the use of these three techniques, the creation of a vision of the soul, the Azif technique, and the practice of detachment, a person's soul awareness can deepen. Identity with the personality can steadily diminish, and identity with the soul and its nature can increase. This will quicken the work of building the bridge of light between lower and higher minds, and a result will be an ability to more easily access that illuminating energy of pure reason. Thank you, everyone.